Hello, I'm Aaron. I'm an artist, mostly working in comics and sometimes textiles. For my piece for Going Down Swinging, I wrote about Bjork, who's one of my idols, coming to visit me in West Brunswick, which is where I was living at the time. The idea behind having a sort of larger-than-life celebrity presence coming to visit came from a painting that I saw that I really liked by Kayleen Whiskey, and that was her, like, Dolly Parton coming to her town and her sort of showing her around. So that was sort of the premise for this as well. So, I mean, there she is. So yeah, it ended up being a kind of goodbye to West Brunswick, actually, because I ended up moving to North Melbourne shortly after. So it's kind of, for me, a little bit of a lament and a celebration of all of the weird and interesting things that I loved about living in West Brunswick. So I focused on the brickworks, the Spooky Face Bridge, and the chips and sauce, also known as the cheese sticks. So I just sort of talked about their sort of cultural history, what they used to be, how I used to interact with them, and how I interact with them now. Brickworks, if you don't know, was an abandoned brick factory for years, and a lot of people used to hang out there, and now it's a very disappointing housing estate. The Spooky Bridge was a bridge that was had all these plaster faces on it. I mean, it still exists, it's still there. That people thought was a guerrilla artist, because nobody thought that the council would have ever commissioned something so spooky. But it was part of a bridge building community project, and the artist eventually came forward. Chips and sauce are the gateway into Melbourne from the airport. And yeah, they're very interesting because they were commissioned by Jeff Kennett as a entryway into the city, supposed to represent the wheat industry and the gold mining era, but almost no one gets that from them or thinks about them that way at all. Anyway, it's quite long, 25 pages, and I really enjoyed doing it. I also really liked working with Emily to do some AR components. I had to say I was pretty out of my depth for that. For my AR component, I did an animation. I did it all by hand, just on the window. So I'm pretty old school when it comes to technology.